Hello, this is Todd Wall from Aquatine Media, and I saw a story that I thought was worth discussing. Um, you can read the title. Basically, a young woman, or really a sculpture of a young woman in a city center in the UK, has been receiving unwanted attention. Let's put it that way. And so I'm going to discuss the article. And, I thought it was worth discussing. Article is pretty interesting. So sculptor Rory Macbeth, 57, created a wax sculpture called Flora. And you can see in this picture, Flora is this sculpture. It looks very lifelike. It looks like a woman with white face paint wearing like adorned in sort of this white gown with flowers on her head. It's giving me some kind of like goddess vibes or something like that. And so he did this wax sculpture around 50 years ago, and it started showing it in public locations, but the reactions have been worrying, and that's what we're going to discuss. And so it starts right out. Men are constantly groping and molesting a lifelike statue of a young woman touring the UK, its sculptor says. To make the wax sculpture, Rory Macbeth has named Flora as realistic as possible. He dresses it in a white shawl with beads around its wrist, clutching a bunch of flowers. But while the majority of the reactions are positive, the 57-year-old says that some men make inappropriate comments towards Flora and will also grope or kiss the statue. So men are basically approaching this statue on the street, and basically they're assaulting it. They're giving it unwanted attention. And I guess the takeaway here is that they don't realize it's a statue. They think it's a real person just dressed as a not as a mannequin, but someone who's standing still, and they're going up and they're basically doing these things towards it. He said the vast majority of the people think it's a person. A lot of people touch her. Touching anyone without their permission is problematic. It is problematic. And it's amazing how many people do that. They just don't seem to think it's a problem. So here's a front view of the statue, basically. And it does look very lifelike, although from this angle it looks kind of small, but it's hard to say. I'm not there. There's a tiny minority of people who threaten her with violence or touch her inappropriately or make offensive comments. The majority of problematic comments and actions have come from men. Threatening her with violence, you'd have to be kind of a psychopath if you basically threaten her with violence. I have had a couple of comments from women who have inexplicably threatened to punch her, but the worst behaviors tend to be from men who are often drunk. That is interesting. I don't know why women would do that. Maybe women view her, this is a very attractive statue, and the women view her as being a threat, like to poach their mate, to poach their man. And so they're mate guarding, and they're engaging in, defensive behavior, making sure their man won't stray. I'm not quite sure. When I call people out for their behavior, the article continues, their reaction tends to be, sorry, I thought she was a person, which is obviously worse. Well, that is obviously worse. It's embarrassing, though, I guess. If you end up making inappropriate or lewd comments towards a statue and then thinking it's a person, but realize it's a statue, that must be embarrassing. Rory, who is exhibiting Flora as part of the experimental creative organization Ghost Art School, says some comments from men left him really shocked, in quotations. So there's the sculptor standing proudly next to his sculpture. Actually, from this angle, she must look very tall because this guy, I don't know what his height is, but if he's a normal sized man, even if he's a shorter man, she's definitely significantly taller than him. He went on, the behaviors are pretty constant. I had always known that women get hassled by men, but until I was looking after Flora, I had no idea how utterly relentless it is. Irrespective of whether it's a sculpture or not, then touching it without permission is a weird thing to do, and it's obviously a really problematic thing to do if it's a person. But this happens all the time. He seems to be very upset, which is great. He definitely basically is concerned about unwanted advances towards the statue, and so I'm glad that he takes this seriously. Rory has so far taken the statue to various UK cities, including Leeds, York, Harrogate, Glasgow, Manchester, and Liverpool. He added, almost everyone who sees her feels certain that she's a person, which is a credit to him. He must be an incredible sculptor, incredible artist. But by being in the street and not a gallery, the work can reach a different audience who might not often encounter art. I guess this audience is also part of reaching a new audience is basically they might not be the same class of people who would typically go to art galleries. Maybe they're just appreciating the art in a different way. I don't know. I spend the entire day explaining to people that she's a sculpture and not a person. He keeps calling it a she, though. I tend to approach people who've been looking at her and explain it's a waxwork and how it's made. People don't often believe me. They think I'm a bystander who is having a joke, which is odd. Once someone has made up their mind, they can be quite vigorous in their defense that she's a person, which is quite weird. Lots of people claim they can see her breathing or her hands moving. Even people who touch her often say it's a real person when she's made of wax and she's quite solid. So that's the article. I think we can all agree that Mr. Macbeth is doing a public service in a sense. He's showing us that people, men in particular, are behaving inappropriately in the streets, and we need to do better. So hats off to you, Mr. Macbeth. I think the statue, your artwork, is pretty impressive, but I'd be interested in knowing in the comment section, what do you think about this situation, about people sort of groping artwork in the streets, making inappropriate advances towards artwork? What is your response or thoughts about that? So please leave a comment section in the comment section below. And if you could like this video, that would be great. And subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Everyone have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.